Hello everyone, welcome to EA Global Summit 2023, and this is Sujat from the organizing team. I'm happy to welcome you all to this virtual event where Spox EA users from all over the world come together to learn, work, and share their experiences. Whether you are a seasoned EA expert or just beginning your journey with Spox EA, this summit has something special in store for each one of you. We have a fantastic lineup of prominent speakers who are experts in Sparks EA community and want to share their experiences with you all. This session will be by Stephen Maguire from Spark Systems Australia with an interesting topic on creating beautiful business-friendly diagram. But remember that this event isn't just about presentation, but collaboration. Take advantages of networking opportunity and discuss with the fellow attendees and speakers after the session in Slack. If you haven't received an invite from Slack or maybe missed it, please let us know in the chat window and we will send you the invite right now. Also, we encourage you to ask question and answer in the question and answer window. The speaker will answer a few questions in here at the end of the event and then connect with you directly in Slack. Please let us know what you thought of the summit and the talk. Based on your inputs, we will also plan to recognize the speaker who received the most positive feedback. After the summit, our team will get in touch with you to hear your comments on the various sessions. If you have any feedbacks, we would love to hear them. Over to you, Stephen.
Sujat, you can see my screen?
Yes, Stephen. I can
Great.
see your EA example diagram before. Tab.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone to this presentation on creating beautiful business-friendly diagrams. I'm sure everyone's been in the situation where you've been working in EA and it's a tool that you love modeling, you're able to create great diagrams for technical people, but you run into problems when you want to create diagrams for business people. On the screen, just as a warm-up, I've got an example diagram before. So this is the kind of diagram that you might have in its very rudimentary form using the elements and objects as dragged from the toolbox and with no type of presentation. Let me flick to the diagram after, and you can see this is exactly the same diagram, but now I've used styles, I've used images, and I've used some tricks to create what I would consider a beautiful diagram. What I want to say is that this diagram took me approximately 15 minutes to create. I didn't create all the objects. The objects were already created, as I showed you in the example before. But this is the styling of this diagram took me about 15 minutes, and probably another 4 or 5 minutes to make it really well laid out. So let me just take a philosophical sort of stance for the moment. The reason why I'm showing you this is because it's very important for you to be able to model your organizations, your business, your technology, your infrastructure, your systems engineering efforts in Enterprise Architect, and to go off to another tool, like a general purpose drawing tool, to create diagrams is in my view a great problem, because those diagrams are not linked to the model. So if I change some of the element names in this model, then it all changes. I'm going to just mention a few things as I'm going along. I'm using the portals. I'm going to go back into, I use wide view in the portals there in workspaces. I'm going to go back to core modeling now. That will open up all of my windows. So let me show you the project browser structure. So it's a typical kind of structure, right? I've got an enterprise. I've got some example diagrams. I've got business. I've got some under business. I've got annual revenue, channels, passengers, reservations. Under information, I've got some things, applications, machine learning and technologies, a reservation data lake there, some clouds. And the other thing I want to show you is that I have got one of our graphic designers to create some images. So here are some images that are image assets in Enterprise Architect, and they're just being dragged in from the Mail folder system. And the important thing about these images is that they're both scalable and also they have transparent backgrounds. So if you were to change the background of the diagram, then that would change. I'm not going to have time today to show you everything that's available in Enterprise Architect, but I hope that what I do show you will give you an indication of some of the things that you're able to do. Now, back to our diagram before and our diagram after. So if we look at those two together, a before and after view, you have a look at that. You can see how appealing that diagram is, right? It's much more appealing than the previous diagram. So how did I do this? As I said, I'm not going to take you through a step-by-step explanation of this diagram. What I thought was much more instructive is for me to take you through a series of what I call visual patterns. So everything on this diagram, I'm going to show you how to do using a generic, some generic models. So, for example, this section here that's got this dotted border, and if we look at this, what is this element in this diagram? Let me go back to the after. If I select this element in the diagram and go right mouse click find in Project Browser, you can see that it's actually the channels package. So if I were to change that package here to something like methods, you'll see that the diagram changes. So there's no doing raster-based things. All of this is using the underlying model. So that is the important thing, is to, rather than for you to go off to another drawing tool, what I'm encouraging you to do is to come into Enterprise Architect and draw your models there. Now, I'm going to show you something, another thing straight off, and then we'll come back to these patterns, okay? So I'm going to close these images for a minute, and I'm going to close this example diagram, and I'm going to go to these visual diagram patterns. I'll close all these diagrams for the moment to stop the noise there. I'm going to show you something which is, let me just go to this one here. Here's an image. Now, I haven't drawn these clouds and this rainfall and this mountain in Enterprise Architect. What I've done is I've used an image that's been created somewhere else. So my thesis is that I'm not saying that you will never create an image outside, but what I'm saying is that if you do need to, for some reason, then bring it into Enterprise Architect and have it displayed to your business people inside this tool. Now, the interesting thing about this is I've hyperlinked some of these things. So this area here to precipitation, I've hyperlinked it down into a model. So here I've got ye old UML diagram showing the different types of precipitation using a generalization relationship. I can look at evaporation as well. And I've got a state machine diagram showing the changes from liquid water to water vapor and the processes that occur to do that. So I'm going to park this diagram and we'll talk about it perhaps a little bit later. But the important thing is try and keep yourself out of these general purpose drawing tools when you're doing modeling and work inside Enterprise Architect. So let's have a look at some of the patterns. Like I said, the patterns are here to help you look at ways to draw these things. So here's a simple thing. We've got a before class diagram here. I've used class A, class B, class C rather than using examples from the real world, because I thought that way it doesn't get in your way of understanding you'll understand. What I want you to understand is how to create these things visually, not about the semantics of whether a social media feed is part of a machine learning algorithm or anything like that. I just want you to be able to look at the thing simply. Let's have a look at after. So what I've done here is I've used a custom drawing style of hand drawn. So what I've got here as well is I'm using checklists, and I'm going to put those over here. And after the presentation, if you connect with me in LinkedIn, I'll give you this entire presentation. So please don't worry about taking copious notes. And there is a detailed steps to create this for every single pattern that I'm showing you. So it's simple, right? I'm going to show you the demonstration. Here's the before one. I'm going to copy that diagram into my demonstration, and I'll paste it there, move it over, and all I simply do here in the properties window, I'll put this properties window down here to keep it out of the way, and I'll go back to my steps to create. And all I do is I'm looking for the hand-drawn mode there, and I turn that on, and you can see it's gone hand-drawn. Now I've done some coloring, so I just multi-select some things and say, look, you know, let's color these elements, so just to make them look a bit prettier. But that's simple. That's hand-drawn mode. It's an extremely simple pattern. It's very useful to show people a diagram that isn't finished. So when you look at this before, you think, oh, it's completely finished. You look at it after, think, oh no, it's not so finished. Useful thing, and much more to discover. I'm going to close all these diagrams as we're going along. Let's have a look at another pattern here. Hyperlinked images we just saw. A cloud icon with the whiteboard. Let's have a look at that. Before and after. So here's the before diagram, and here's the after diagram. You can see, again, it looks much more appealing. You may not have known that there is a cloud icon inside Enterprise Architect, or a cube icon, and how to get them. Let's have a look at a demonstration. So let's go before. Let's get our two classes. We'll copy them onto the demonstration thing, which is empty. I'll leave them there, and let's have a look at our steps to create. So we'll drag this guy over, put him here for the minute, and we'll follow the steps. So change the toolbox perspective to analysis whiteboard. So I'm going to change the toolbox perspective to that, and I'll go in here and I'll say change perspective, analysis, and whiteboard. Okay, I have to select that in the toolbox. So we'll tick that off, select the white box toolbox, we've done that. Select class A from the properties window and select cloud stereotype. Okay, so we'll select cloud A, and we're going to look in here, and we're going to choose the whiteboard mode, and we're going to choose cloud in here. Cloud. I go okay to that. There's my cloud. Now notice if I try and fill this cloud with a color, so let's make it a nice blue color for a cloud, and it doesn't fill. The reason is that there are some properties on the element which are part of this toolbox, and it says fill false and name display false. So I can turn both of those on, and now you can see the colors changed. And I'll change that to true. And we've got class A in there as well. Let's do the same thing for this one, but this time let's make it a cube. So let's look again in our stereotype, and we'll choose cube there, and we can do some, again, we need to change the fill. Let's change the fill there, change that to true, and let's just apply a different color there as well. So there we have our diagram. So lots of opportunities there with the whiteboard. I haven't shown you all of those things. There's lots of things on the whiteboard that you can look at, and you can just drag them directly from the whiteboard. So I could drag that guy there, and it comes onto my element. I was wanting to show you how you can change an existing element into a cloud or another image. Again, let's close all these guys, and we'll go on to the next thing. So close those guys there, and let's go on to a boundary and color. So let's have a look at the before and after. Here's the before, the ye old UML diagram. And remember, in the audience today, we've got systems engineering people who are doing, complex engineering models. We've got business process analysts. We've got data modelers, people doing architecture, enterprise and solution architecture. So all of these things are going to be, all of these little patterns are going to be available for each one of you, each one of those groups, regardless of the discipline, whether it's an engineering discipline or business process modeling. So here we have this diagram afterwards. So let's have a look how this works. So again, I'll go to my demonstration, and I've got a blank canvas there. I shall look at the before diagram, and I'll copy that just across for my demonstration to show you how it works. And let's again look at our steps to create. So this one's there's a few more steps in this one. And like I said, this model will be available to you if you join up, if you connect with me in LinkedIn, and all of these instructions you'll be able to follow. So the first step is change the diagram style to custom style. Now this is not something that everyone knows. It was brought out a number of versions ago, in 14 or 15, I think. And it's a very, very powerful, powerful mechanism. So with the diagram selected, you'll see in here in the properties toolbox for the diagram, drag that across, custom style. So I tick that and watch what happens to the elements on the diagram. Suddenly they're changed into a much more neutral style. So I'm going to tick this as I'm going along, add the two packages to the diagram. Okay, so these elements, if I right mouse click again and go Alt-G or find in Project Browser, there they are there, and they're contained in a package. So this is something which many people again don't know that you can do. But let's do this. I'm going to drag this package onto the diagram, and I'll put package element. Notice that it's lost all of its normal package display with its little tabbed, tabbed name. Have the name icon, and here I'll do the same thing. So I've got those dragged onto the diagram. Multi-select the two packages. So let's multi-select. I can just lasso those and change the rounded rectangle and dash borders using the style icon. Now, if I select these elements, you can see another little icon or two little icons have popped up here, and this is key to a lot of the things I'm going to talk about. So in here are a lot of ways that you can style the elements, okay? And I can do that, I can style them individually, or I can multi-select them, which is an important step. And again, I've seen people working with EA who have worked for many years and don't know this trick. Multi-select them, and let's go rounded rectangle, right? And we also, we'll change the rounded rectangle, and we also want a dashed border. So let's go to that and look at the dash border here, and we'll go for dash. Change the rounded rectangle and dash border using the style icon. Okay, so we've done that. Let's now do a little bit of normal styling with in the layout ribbon. So with the layout ribbon open, let's change the border color to this color maybe, and let's change the weight of that border. Okay, so we've done that, done these two things. Okay, change the weight to 4. Change the colors individually using the layout ribbon. So let's have a look what we did after and see, okay, we had those colors. So let's just quickly change those colors using layout ribbon. Let's just choose some colors there, and we'll choose a different one for this one. And let's make that pink, say. Whoopsie daisy, I changed the line there. Let me just, I can use the Control Z to step back from that. Actually, I did want to change the line anyway, so let me do that. And I want to change the fill color as well. So there we have it, and I need to change this weight to 4 as well. Line weight. What's happened there? Oh, it's changed, but it's let's have a look at that. Now we've changed the colors individually, changed the location of the package names using the icon. So let's do that. So again, multi-select, use the little style icon, and I can change the location of the names. So I'm going to change them to top left. So now the names are there, and I want to change the font as well. So I think that's one of the yeah. Let's change the font as well. So we can change the font here. Let's make it 10. Let's make it bold, and let's change the font color individually for these guys. And we'll change that font color to blue, and we'll change this one, and we'll make that bold. I should have made that bold before, I think. And let's change this one here, the font color to some sort of red there. And let's not worry about it too much. You get the idea of that. Multi-select the. Oh, I changed this one. That's what happened there before. Just. What happened to that? Oh. I made a mistake and changed that font before. Let's keep going on. So change the diagram object colors, change the connected line weight as well. So what we're going to do now is make these a bit bigger, and we're going to plonk this class inside here, and we'll plonk this class inside here. We'll make these guys the same size, perhaps, and we'll align them, line their tops, and let's just drag this one in here. Now you can see that things have disappeared there a bit, but let's change with that size of that element. Let's go to the Z order on the diagram. So looking at the properties window, we've got the Z order, and let's move these guys down in the Z order, and the packages down in the Z order. So now we've got them there, and we can just do some styling on these guys as well. Again, same deal. We can choose a particular style. Let's go rounded rectangle on that one. You know, let's increase. Let's change the border color to blue. I'm not going to labor on this because it's going to be obvious to you. Cancel that guy there for a minute, and let's change this one to a say an ellipse. I think we did before. So there we have it. And again, one of the tricks with this one is that we have used the packages, right? The packages are in the diagram now without their typical visual element with the tabs on it. So that's a very useful pattern. And you can see in the example diagram, we'll just flick back to this example diagram again very quickly. You can see that I've used it right here, okay? So that's what I've used with the packages. So you can see that diagram there and how I've used that little pattern. Let's close this one again, close all diagrams, and I'll say save to the demonstration. Let's look at something else. Let's keep moving along. Okay, transparency, a kind of very useful thing. Let's look at the before and after. So here's a typical diagram from an Archimate kind of diagram with flights, accommodation, and hotels. I think it's in there. I might have, sorry. Yeah, hotels there. So let's look at the transparency. So what I've done is I've changed the transparency. So again, let's look at our demonstration diagram, and I'll just delete this stuff off here because I was just working on this before. There's our before diagram. Let's just grab that again, paste it into our demonstration, open our demonstration window, paste that in, and let's see how we can do this. I'll just take this diagram property off for a minute. So there's the starting diagram: flights, accommodation, and vehicles, domestic, international, charter, and government. So steps to create, let's have a look at those. Again, we drag our diagram over, we put that over here, and let's have a look. Deselect the show stereotype icon from the element page of the properties window. So let's do this first. So you'll see the reason for this in a minute, but I'm going to change the properties of this, and it says deselect the stereotype from the element page. So I don't want to show element stereotype. So that would normally be on. We turn that off. And so let me just put it on for a minute and show you what it looks like. I know it's not going to show up, so let me go back to that again. And I'll turn that off anyway. Okay, so we've done that. Select the custom style. That's something we looked at before, so we'll do that. Put our custom style. Multi-select all the diagram objects. So multi-select all the diagram objects. Use the style selector icon and select 50% transparency. I don't think that's what we want to do. Let me just go back to the after diagram. Let's just change these guys here to a different color. Let's start. And let's change these ones here. Let's change the transparency on those. So again, we use our little style icon, so you can see it's there. See, Daisy, what's going on with that? The custom style's gone off. I'm going to turn that back on again for the diagram. Yeah, so you can see now that stereotype showing. So let me go and flick that off again. I think I might just turn that off again. Yeah, and now I need to just reset that custom style, I think. Okay, we're in business. So we are going to we can look at this style icon again, but let's do it for all of the three selected together, and let's change the transparency, right? So here's the transparency. Let's change it to 50%. Okay, so that's the transparency changed, and we can change the colors of these guys. What do we have in our before and after? Yellow, green, and pink. So let's just happened to that? It's flicking as I'm going. Something strange is happening to that. Let's just. I have to save this diagram before in between, I think. So let me just do that. Not what I want it to do. Sure. Obviously, some little aberration there in Enterprise Architect. We'll change the transparency of those to 50%, and let's change this one. I'll leave this one at yellow. We'll put this one as green, and we'll put this one at pink. So I'm not going to go into any more detail with that. That's the transparency. You can see that it's kind of good. You can see here we've got a bit of contamination with these element names, and so one way to solve that, again, using our little style icons. Let's choose the location of and let's make them top center. And now they've gone to top center. So there's a few things to be learnt in this little guy here, and I encourage you to experiment with it. We'll be looking at some more of these, but let's move on. So that's transparency, and you can see how what a useful thing that is in some situations. Let's now close all these again and move on. So that's transparency. Let's look at big coloured arrows. Now this is a sort of a bit of a hot topic in Enterprise Architect, that many people just want to have a big arrow like you do in some of your favourite drawing packages. Let's have a look at that in situ. So example diagram after. So here you can see I've got a couple of arrows here. I've got a number of different arrows. I've got this green one that's pointing to the right, single-headed. I've got this other orange color that's got double heads on it, and these guys are actually arrow types as well. So how did I do that? So let's have a look at our a big colored arrow. So again, our before and after. There's our before diagram, and there's our after diagram. I'll just delete this off the diagram for a minute, and we've got our arrow. I've applied some colors again to make it a little bit more appealing. Let's have a look at our before diagram. Standard UML class. I'm keeping it kind of simple. The example's simple because I want you to learn the mechanism rather than the semantics of what's going on here. Let's copy that diagram there. Let's go into our demonstration, paste these guys in, and let's see how we did this. So steps to create. Let's drag the diagram over here for a tick again, and hide the connector using the delete key and choosing hide. So I'm going to hide the connector, and we'll talk about this in a minute. So I'm just going to hit the delete key on my keyboard. It comes up with an option: hide the connector, delete the connector from the model. I want to hide it. I don't want to delete it. Okay. So I've done that. Open the whiteboard toolbox page from the analysis perspective. So we've looked at this before. I'm going to go to the analysis perspective, which I've already have open. That's there, so I've got that open. And remember, you can do that from a change perspective thing. Just go change perspective, analysis, and whiteboard. So add a right arrow from the toolbox and resize. So here's a right arrow. I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to resize it now. I can hold the shift key down to keep the proportions the same, and that's my arrow. And question for the audience, can I change the color of this arrow? I want it to be different colored. So I go up here and I'll say, let's make it a green arrow, right? And I can't change it. From our lesson before, it's because these whiteboard objects have got a special property on them, and that's the fill property here, and I can change that to true, and voila, it changes to the arrow. Let's just multi-select these guys here and kind of make them, oopsie daisy. Let's make them change their size. I'm holding the control key down and using my arrow keys, so it's a nice trick. Let's use holding the shift key down, and let's move the elements now. I'm not going to talk about this anymore. In the after diagram, before and after, I've styled some of those elements, make them look a bit prettier. We don't need to do that. You've got the idea of the arrow. Now, I've hidden that arrow. So this is a bit of an important lesson. This enables you to create that kind of pattern where you don't have, you have some space, like you would do in your normal drawing package. And like we did in this, in the example diagram, if I got that open now, I'll just have a look. Example diagram after I have. So here we have, obviously, a green arrow and one of these arrows as well, a double pointed arrow. So the important thing is that yes, there's a bit of trickery there in the sense that I've added this little element, but and I've hidden that. But what's happened is it hasn't compromised the semantics of your underlying model. Class A is still connected to Class B, and if I go into the traceability window and have a look at that, there's a traceability window, and Class A has an association to Class B, right? So the model is still intact. All I've done is hidden it and added this visual element. Now, if you look up in the example model, I'm going to click back up to here into the package structure. What I've done is I've added a thing called visuals, right? And there's only a few little elements in there that I've got to make the diagram richer. And I encourage you to do that, to separate out the visual elements that you've added from the rest of the semantics of the model, because they're not really creating any semantics. All they're doing is creating that visual appeal. Okay, let's leave that one alone for the minute. So what I'm going to do, example diagram after, I'm going to say close all except that one. We'll leave that one open because we want to keep looking at that. Let's keep moving on here. So we'll close our example diagrams. We'll close big coloured arrow. Let's have a look at info view. So the info view again is a style that not so many people know. Let's have a look at the before and after. So here we've got a before diagram, ye old class diagram. Could be an engineering diagram with blocks. Could be a business process diagram. And we've got a tag value, which is a mechanism for putting user-defined properties in. And we've got some notes displayed there. Now, this diagram, the after diagram, is quite a different view, and I think looks much more appealing than the upper diagram. The other interesting thing is here that if you look in this diagram, and if I click through to this, you can see that I've got some other things that are that have been displayed. I've got the status, the version, the phase over here, and I've also got the author on this one here. And I've also got some issues. So there's an issue here, change the dimensions to SI units. You know, that is very relevant to the systems engineering people, and some security thing here, possibly insecure. So let's go and have a look at how we did that in Enterprise Architect. Let's look at our demonstration again, and let's just delete this one off the diagram for a tick, and we'll get our before class. There we have it. Let's copy that onto the demonstration diagram, and there it is there. Again, you know, not very attractive. And let's go steps to create, and we'll drag that guy over here again so that we can go through the steps. Okay, multi-select. I'll just drag this over a bit. Multi-select both diagram objects in the diagram. Okay, make same height and width using Class A as on the layout ribbon. Okay, so let's get Class A into that shape kind of looks pretty good, and let's go multi-select, use the layout ribbon, and same height and width. Right, let's top align them as well. So align the top edges of both diagrams. Getting ahead there. Change both diagram objects to info view. Right. So let's have a look at that and see whether we can. Whoopsie daisy. Let's just see whether we can multi-select that, and right mouse click. And if we look at this behavior, we don't seem to have any option there. We have to do these, I think, individually. And so we can do this and say appearance info view. I should have got that actually in the other thing. Let me just see whether that did pop up in the appearance one. Appearance info view, yeah. Enable info view. So it was there. Let's move these guys a little bit further apart and say change both. Select the info view properties from the object's appearance. So we'll do these ones individually, and we can choose from here as well. The appearance, select info view properties, and we can say what things we want. So let's put in, I think we have the status and the version in this one, and we've got the notes there as well. So let's just go okay to that. And now we've got that. Let's just quickly change the color to something, you know, a little bit more appealing there. And let's go to this one here. Nothing displayed there. Again, the info view properties. And this time let's go status, version, author, maintenance items there as well. And we've got author there as well. And I think we wanted notes was there, but let's do that. So there we have it. So again, let's just change the color of that, make it a little bit more appealing. What were those what were those maintenance item things there? So, if we click on one of these guys here, you can see that there was an issue raised by Stephen Maguire. It's a new issue, priority low, and the details of that issue, right? I can do that from one of the other ribbons, right? I can go to the design ribbon here, the layout, to the execute, construction ribbon. There we go. I can get those ribbons up there as those maintenance items as well. So we can look at those guys there, show window, and there they are there. So that's another little feature if you're not familiar with that in Enterprise Architect. Quite a useful thing, I can look at that as well in the inspector view, and I can see them there. So lots of different options. But we're concentrating on this business of making our diagrams beautiful. So let's again, let's close all of those. We've learnt the lessons there. Close all except the example, and back to our browser window, and let's go on to object images and icons. Right. So let's look at this, and let's look at our before and after. So here's our before and after. You can see the plain old looking diagram with the generalization connector, and here we've got a much more attractive diagram. So this is kind of key. This part of it's key to what we're doing. Let's have a look at the demonstration. Again, we'll get our before elements, and we'll go to after. We'll go to demonstration. Paste those guys in there, and we'll turn off info view or the custom style, which we had there for a bit. So let's have a look at how we do this. Steps to create. Not very difficult, this one. So let's just go through this. Control Z that, and let's steps to create. I'll just put it over there for the time being. Drag images from the browser onto each of the objects, right? So let's just do that. I mentioned before that one of the things is that I have these images here. I encourage you to create your own images, and I'm going to show you what those images look like. They're all in a particular size that makes them scalable, and the type of diagram that the type of image they are, and we've got different colors and things, and most importantly, they've got transparent backgrounds. So I encourage you to do this. If you need images, we do have an image creation service that's incredibly rich. We can create images very quickly, almost for any industry or any discipline. But let's close these guys for a minute, and let's go and look at our diagram. All we simply have to do is let's have a look at this internet sales. So let's have a look at our diagram list here. Let's just drag that one onto the thing. Set as alternate image. We're done there. I can do the same thing as this one here. I can say one of these ones here. These ones are reservations for flights. Let's have a look at. I can find flights blue. Let's go green there, and I can drag those on. Right. So it's that simple. So I can go to the same with hotels green. Drag that. Whoopsie daisy. Just opened up where I was. Hotel green. Drag that one on. Set as, and I'm going to do tours. I'll do tours, and I'll go green on tours there. And I'm going to show you something different with cars. So another thing you can do, you can't do this when you look at this. When I drag an image on, it didn't come up with this option. But if I change this individually, change the style to let me have a look, appearance to enable custom draw styles. So you can do that both at the diagram level and also at the element level. So now this has gone into this custom draw style. Now look what happens when I drag an image over. So this one is going to be cars, I think. So let's have a look at car. I'll make it blue as an example. But when I drag this on now, I get an extra option to say set as an icon. So I'm going to say set as an icon. Now you can see it's come up in the top, in that top corner. And once again, we can style this ourselves and say, that car looks a bit big for that element. I don't like it that much. Let's have a look at and see what we can do. So I can go in here and say the size of that icon. Let's make it 24 by 24. That's a bit better. Now it still looks a little bit not so nice. So let's go in here and say the position. Let's make it top left instead. And that still looks not so good. So let's put 4 pixels of padding around it as well. And now I've got, and let's change this to car so that it looks a little bit better. Now that I've got that there, I can do just my general, my general styling of saying let's make the border blue and all those kind of things. So The other thing is, if I don't like the position of that car label there, I can change the label position as well. We did that before. I can change it to custom, and I can then move that anywhere that I want to. So you know, I can move that guy anywhere I wanted to do. Let's leave this demonstration for a tick, and let's move back again, moving on with our close all diagrams except. Let's keep going with our visual patterns. So that was object names. Bezier lines and curves. This is a relatively straightforward one. Let's have a look at the before and after. Here we have the Bezier lines and curves. It's using this line style. Let's have a look at a demonstration. Let's get the before one. Okay, I don't have that. So I'll show you this one here. Just copy this and I'll copy that onto the demo. I think that will. No, I'm not going to be able to. But I'll just show you something else. I don't know why those. Oh, here. Sorry, they're in the contents package. My mistake. I'll just drag those guys. Try and copy onto the before diagram anyway. Oh, that wasn't it. They were there. My apologies. They were there. I don't know why I didn't see that. Demonstration. There they are. There. Quite simply, all I do is change the line style to Bezier, and that gives me this extra point here, and I can click that out and move those there. I can obviously change the line color and everything. So, you know, let's make that a green color there. I can change the line weight and whatnot, and I can move this guy here. Notice that I've got this turned on to so that the line is interrupted with that. I'm not going to do the other one. That's straightforward. Let's move on again. Remembering that you can watch this video again at any time, and when you get this model, you can go through these steps yourself. That's all pretty straightforward. Let's move on to the next one. Lateral vertical lines. Again, you know, relatively straightforward. Here's a pattern. Someone actually sent me this one early in the week saying, hey, you know, what can I do about this diagram? There's lots of different things we can do, but this is one of them. That looks a whole lot more appealing than the other way. And again, let's have a look at a demonstration. And again, I'll just delete this one off the demonstration so you guys can get rid of that one as well. Notice that I'm just deleting, soft deleting. They're not going from the repository at all. They're just going off the diagram. Let's put these guys on here, and let's have a look at our before and afters, our steps to create. A few steps here, so let's we probably won't do them all. We'll just have a look at the critical ones. Control Z that, step that one over there. Okay, so untoggle show element stereotypes from the element thing. So we talked about doing that before. In our properties elements, so that's already toggled off anyway. That's good. Custom diagram style we've turned on there, so that's done. Change the color of the objects to rounded rectangles using the style icon. So you know how to do that. We can use this icon and we can say rounded rectangles, and we've done that. Change the object color to soft blue. Change the object rounded rectangle style. That's all good. Elements font white. Connector style. Okay, so this is the key. This is the key point. So let's just do the key thing. What I'm going to do is make this we've gone off custom style again. I think that's better. I might just save that as we're flicking through this. This is the key point. Here is we're going to change these styles to lateral vertical, and if I move those guys over now. Now, a trick that, again, some people don't know, if I right mouse click on here and go apply line style and diagram, all the connectors are the same type, then I have these guys all kind of lined up. So that's the key message with that diagram. We can do all of these, you know, all of these things to, you know, make this prettier. And we've talked about the package before. Line these guys up, you know, vertically aligned. So that's the key point of that diagram. Let's move on. Got some other things to talk about. Close all except that one. Element stacks. I'm going to jump over that one. I'll just show you quickly what that one's about. It's not very difficult at all. We can just, you know, create this element stack, and again, it's done well, I will do this one. I won't show the notes. It's kind of pretty straightforward. Here's the demonstration. I can multi-select these guys here. I can go in here and, oopsie daisy, let's not do that. Let's not multi-select them. Let's do the internal one anyway. Have we got our, need to change the diagram style to custom again. So lots of things are happening with the custom style here. Let's change this to stacks. Let's go 4. Let's go direction northeast. And so we've changed those. If we change the color of the element a little bit, you'll see that will look a whole lot better. So you can see that that's stacked. Very useful. We've got it in our diagram over here somewhere, I think. Yeah, here we're using it for the passenger name record to show that there's more than one name record there. Let's move on again. So close all of those. Diagram legends. This is an interesting one. So let's have a look at the before and after. There's a classic Archimate type of diagram with nested capabilities, and here we have a diagram that's using legends to create more interest in that diagram. So again, let's just have a look at our, let's leave that open for a tick actually. Let's have a look at our demonstration. Let's look at before. We'll just grab this whole thing again and copy it onto our demonstration, place that there, and let's just simply do something. We've got in our content here, we've got some legends. Let's just drag those legends onto the diagram and see what happens. So the legends are doing all this magic. And the legends are working off metadata. So they're not, let's have a look at that legend. It's not using colors in any way other than to use the metadata to color the elements. So there's, different, look at that, well, that one's not doing what it should do. Look at that, I'll come back to that. Color. Anyway, that should be highlighting the elements as well. Let's have a look at the before and after, and you can see that was color. The line color was coloring those. Something's gone wrong in that little demonstration, but it's easy. Look up the help on creating legends. It's not a very difficult thing to do, but it's incredibly powerful. Let's have a look at next thing here. Callouts, again, a useful thing. Let's have a look at the before and after. We have this kind of situation, and we've got this this call out happening. Again, not very difficult to do. I won't. You can use the steps to create it yourself. Demonstration. Well, actually, let's look at the content and get that hotel manager there. Okay, so all we do with this is, again, we change our perspective to the whiteboard perspective, analysis, whiteboard. See, did I get that whiteboard? No, analysis. Change perspective to analysis to whiteboard, and again, select that guy there, and I can just simply use the call out icon here, and I can, well, actually, I change it there and put those notes in, and style that in the way that I want to. So again, and this was just going to be the hotel manager. I've got some little tricks with this thing here. Again, the notes here says, what direction do I want it? I want it, let's say I want it anti-clockwise, and we'll have it at the bottom. And we can just go and change our thing here. We can get an internet reservation, something, and we can plot that actually. Call center. Let's get a call center, and that's how that diagram is constructed. Let's leave that one again and move on to some more things. We're moving quite quickly, but as I said, you can rewatch the video. So cloud images, we have kind of talked about this before, so I'm going to jump over that one, and again, I'll just show the before and after. We've kind of seen that one. Again, it's just using the whiteboard and to using the cloud image in the whiteboard. If I look at that whiteboard there, you can see there's a cloud and a cube, and I demonstrated that a little bit earlier. So I'm going to jump over that one. You can do it yourselves. Polygons, an interesting one, before and after. I didn't use this in that main example diagram, but it's a very useful thing to do. Again, a lot of it's coming from the whiteboard palette again. So not coming from the whiteboard palette. This one's coming from the style. So let's have a very quick look at this before, and we get our three things there, and let's go to our demonstration, put them in, and all we're going to do is multi-select them there, and we're going to change the, actually, I'm going to select them individually and do this. Oopsie daisy, I don't have my custom diagram style, that was the problem there, and let's do that, and let's change the polygon to a six-sided one, and they're not exactly as I want them to be, so let's go and, actually I'm not sure we get a rotation, no we don't. Let's rotate them now through a number of degrees to get them with the flat edges, and then we can line them up as well, like we did in the in that one there. So that's just simply a matter of going, let's increase their sizes and do what we need to do. So again, the important thing there is that that you know how to do the polygon thing. Let's move on, and again, let's close everything except this guy, and let's look at block arrows with shape scripts. This is an interesting thing. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on this one because it's quite interesting. Let's have a look at our before and after. So you saw this in the example diagram, right? We had this revenue section over on the right-hand side. If you remember, I'll use my pan and zoom window to get over there. You can see this revenue section over here is using this I call a block arrow, right? So let's go back to our before and after. And how do we do this? So again, let's go to before, and this is what we had before. Just a lot of stuff on a diagram. Not very interesting, obviously, to show your audience. But let's put it there and say, okay, how do we do this? Let's just move some of this stuff over to the side for a bit. Move this stuff over to the side. Multi-selecting everything. I can group those elements as well. I can right mouse click and say group the elements together. I don't want to do that at the moment because I'm going to move them. How do I do this block arrow thing? Now, it's not available from the whiteboard, right? If I look at the whiteboard palette, the block arrow isn't there. So what I've done is just to show you the kind of thing that you can do with EA, I've created an extension in the form of a profile, and my profile has got a block arrow on it. So let me just show you my profile. Here it is, a block arrow, and I've created a shape script in here. So if I look in here and look at the edit with profile helper, and I look at the shape script and edit, you'll see that there's some stuff in here that's creating this element. Now, this is not for the faint-hearted. If you're a business person, then just close your eyes for a minute and don't look at this, but you'll be able to get some of your technology people to do this. And there's lots of examples of this on in the help, the user guide, and beyond. So how do I do this? Well, I've created the profile and I've set up a perspective to do it. So I'm going to change perspectives now, and the perspective I'm going to use is my general drawing perspective. So my elements that I had in my profile are now available on this toolbox. All I have to do is do the same thing. I can drag a block arrow on here and apply the type. There we go. And there I've got my my block arrow. Right. If I look over in the properties window, you'll see that the stereotype is block arrow. I can obviously do anything I want with that now. I can change the color of it. But if you look at it again with my block arrow, it's got show field true, show name false. Let's show the name in there because we want to for this example. And we can change the direction of it. Say, okay, we want it to go south, or we want it to go east, right? So that's all in that shape script. We want it to go west. So not much to see there other than I'm going to show you this text styling. I can select any of this text, right, and just style it. I can go, okay, I want this to be 10 points. I want it to be bold, and I can change the color of it and say the text color, I want to be this blue color, and I can do anything I want and do those things. So, the result was this before and after. You can fill in the gaps there. You can do that demonstration yourself. We'll put this guy back to east pointing, and let's go and look at something else. Example diagram, close all except, and let's have a look at one of the last ones we're going to look at, which is this artifact pattern. So let's have a look at before and after. So the before and after, or let's have a look at before, and let's have a look at after. So they look exactly the same, and the reason for that is if I go to my demonstration, right, and I say, oh, I want to be able to use a pattern. So here you'll see, I'm just going to drag this pattern on, and you see it just created that whole thing for me. So I encourage you to create your own patterns. I'm going to delete this off for a tick, and I'll delete this guy here and show you how that works. So in the demonstration, or in the before and after, doesn't matter which one, what I do is I multi-select all the elements in the diagram, right mouse click, and say Save Selected Elements as a Pattern. I give it a name, and I'm going to call it, revenue or something, revenue arrows, something like that, your own name. Go OK to that. And then when I go into my demonstration, I can simply reuse that pattern, and it's gone. Where did it go? Revenue arrow, there it is there. And I can drag that on, and it creates the pattern for me. Now, there are 3 different ways, or at least 3 different ways that you can use patterns. Some of you may be familiar with the patterns that are available in the tool. And if I change perspectives here again and go into requirements, say, there are a whole lot of requirements patterns there. You can create these patterns yourself, and like I showed you with those diagrams, create little diagram elements that are useful for what you're doing. Put them, store them in the in a enterprise folder as reusable things. So I've gone through all the patterns. So just to take a step backwards, we started by showing you a diagram up here under. Let's close a few of these guys here, and we'll under our example diagram, and we showed you something that was the before, right? So that's what we started with, and went, that doesn't look so good, right? But now here's the example diagram afterwards. So a much different looking diagram. The key to this is that you want to maintain your models in Enterprise Architect and not go out to a general drawing tool and create all these images that that get that haven't got any semantics attached to them. They're just big green arrows with no semantics. They're dotted lines with no semantics. All of this here is all available in the model. So when I right mouse click on this and go find in Project Browser, it's the passport object, and it can have properties and all sorts of metadata about it. And so you can see how powerful that is. I also showed you the idea of bringing another element in terms of these elements here, where I said this hyperlinked one. So that was a kind of an example as well, where we had these hyperlinked diagrams and things. So that was quite a powerful thing as well, right? So I encourage you, if you need to draw some diagrams out, do them out in Visio and bring them in. But I think you can create most of your elements in most of your diagrams in Enterprise Architect. So I've taken a relatively quick view of all these things, and again, because you're able to go through yourself, this model will be available to you, and the steps will guide you through exactly what to do. Remember, we've got these checklists, and if you're interested, if you wanted to create your own checklists, the way I did that was in this governance toolbox here, and I've got a checklist element, and I can simply drag that onto that. I'll just drag it onto that diagram. I've got a checklist, and I can simply double click on it and start putting things in there. So that's a useful thing. But I've used that mechanism to help you with these models when you use them yourself. So that brings me to the end of the talk. I will be answering questions in Slack. Please feel free to link up with me on LinkedIn. I would love to talk to you, love to be able to help you. And I hope that what I've conveyed to you is a series of patterns that you can use in your own models, whether you're a business analyst, a data modeler, a systems engineer, an architect, or just a business person. You can create these diagrams. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to talking to you on Slack, and connect with me on LinkedIn, and would love to start a conversation with you. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Stephen, for this wonderful session. We have got few questions, and one of them can't able to make it to the Slack. So I'll read the questions for you here. Okay. So the question is from Sohaib. So do all the diagramming techniques only work on class element, or also on the deployment nodes?
Great question. I know they work on every type of element in Enterprise Architect, no matter what it is, an Archimate element, a deployment node, whatever it is. All of those techniques work on any element in Enterprise Architect. So thank you for the question. I'm sorry I didn't make that more clear in the demonstration.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. So we have also got few questions. So it's almost we have reached the time. So
Sure.
we'll be discussing the remaining questions in the Slack.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Stephen, for sharing your valuable insight. I also wanted to acknowledge the active participations and engagement of our audience. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions or wanted to discuss deeper into this topic, we have set up a dedicated Slack channel for you. This is your opportunity to connect with Stephen directly, share your thoughts, and engage in the discussions. If you still have any trouble in joining Slack, please let us know and we will assist you. Thank you once again for your active participation, and I look forward to see you all in the Slack.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you all.